Welcome to the Maria Sanchez Show right here on KADYTV.com. It's Wednesday, November
10th.
And so if you're watching us then you know that you're live, because we wouldn't say that if we weren't right. Before we get into our segment, because if it's Wednesday, that also means it's Scott Harris Moments as well, and he is our political correspondent. And you might be thinking, why? The elections are over. Well, politics don't stop just because the elections are over. But just want to remind you that tomorrow we're going to be at Ivy Lawn Memorial, and we are going to be participating and broadcasting their Veterans Day events. If there's somebody that you know or love or care about that is deployed anywhere in the world, we invite you to come and join us, because we're giving and providing an opportunity for you to give a shout out to that deployed service individual, whomever they may be. And you can let them know, log on to KADYTV.com, and they can avail themselves of that either at the moment, or we post it to the archives so that at any time. And speaking of the archives, we're revising and revamping our system, so we're making it better, user-friendly. We're responding to your emails and your comments, making it more functional. It's a work in progress, but everything that we have done is there. The search engine works. I got that confirmed today from somebody who said, I was looking for blah, blah, blah. So that's the good news. But we know that it's a little bit laborious at the moment, and we're taking steps to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. And that includes comments from our political correspondent, Scott Harris, who mentioned that too, that you had a little bit difficulty at one point.
A little bit, but the critical thing is the responsiveness. I love the way that you guys are fixing it. So it's just going to get better and better every day.
That's exactly
Work
right.
in progress.
Yeah, exactly.
Work in progress.
And as we love to say, rewriting the rules of local broadcasting. So
quite a catchphrase.
Yeah,
I'd like a bumper sticker.
And we're getting into that too. We're looking into T-shirts, into ball caps, into mugs, and bumper stickers. But City Council member Neil Andrews is joining us in our next segment after our segments with Scott. He's going to be speaking about homelessness, and this is National Homeless Awareness Month. And Neil said to me, so how long do we have? And I said, as long as the topic needs.
That could be dangerous, because one, Neil loves to talk, and two, it's a critical topic.
Yes.
So you
but
could be
the
here
good
for a
news,
while. So for insomniacs, tonight could be your night.
But we really do want to get to the meat of it. It reminds me a lot of, I started my radio career doing public affairs interviews. There were 30-minute, half-hour, unedited, uninterrupted interviews, and it was with the station in Los Angeles. So consequently, we got the biggest and the best that were blown through town promoting whatever it is and was. And you really got an opportunity to get to the meat of things, because
Yes.
it wasn't sound bites or short snippets, and that's why I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's great. And you're right, that is the best way to get to know someone, because the sound bites are so simple. Everybody's got a 30-second answer for everything. You know,
Right.
If you're an elected official, if you're running for office, you've got those down. You can do them in your sleep. I mean, it reminds me when I was a kid. I met my wife. We were both director assistance operators. And we used to, we would sit there, and this was back when it was human and not mechanical, and you would answer the phone, what city, please? And at home, if we were at home and the phone rang, we would instinctively just answer, what city, please? You just get trained. And that's how politicians are with their answers. They hear homeless, they've got a homeless answer. They hear the economy, they've got an economy answer. They hear illegal immigration, they've got an answer for that. There's never any thought put to it. And the most dangerous thing in the world, of course, is a politician that has to go beyond a soundbite. Because that requires thought, requires policy, and it requires a number of different things. And as a society, we don't expect it from the people that run for office. They're not expecting for it.
Well, there's that too, which I find alarming. Is that, and I think it all started with the MTV generation, where it was those quick shots. And,
Absolutely.
And now there's even feature films where that's on, it's guerrilla journalism, if you will, and it's like, oh gosh, just put it on a tripod. Can I see? Establish the shot. Let me linger on it. Let me appreciate the nuances. You spent lots of money lighting it, and but no, it's like.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, you're much, much younger than I am, but when I was a kid, television commercials were 60 seconds, and then they went to 30 seconds because as a nation we didn't have the appetite for a full 60 seconds. And now some of them are down to 15 and 10 seconds.
And that made news this month, and they said it's because America doesn't have the attention span.
We do not.
We
do not.
Like,
We're
okay.
an entire nation of ADD. And
what does that say about our program, though?
Well,
we're giving.
Says we've lost most of our viewers already because we're 20 minutes in. So for the new viewers just joining us, we have to go back and do the intro again.
Welcome.
So it's a dangerous thing, and it's part of the problem that we have in politics is that when we look at policy issues, it's hard to get people to think beyond the initial stuff. When we did our segments previous to the election, I got a lot of comments from people who did watch the show who said, hey, I never thought about that before. I'd never dealt with that issue before. I never thought about it at that depth. And it wasn't even that deep. We were doing 10 minutes per proposition.
Right.
But somehow that's like a doctoral thesis in propositions.
Well, we just did a demo reel, if you will, about the show. And Bob Allen, who is my business partner, and
brilliant.
Thank you, I believe so too. Well, we had a difference of opinion about how to get the message across. What is KADY TV and what is the Maria Sanchez show? And Bob, to his credit, was like, instead of reading about it, we're an internet broadcast entity. Why wouldn't we have video about it? And then I said, one step better, I think, in my humble estimation, instead of telling people what we do, why don't we show them what we do? And so that's what we did do, is we took snapshots of...
And I bet that works for you.
And we also, I said, I want it less than 2 minutes, and it came in about like 1:16 or something like that. So with that in mind, knowing you don't want to take a lot of time, you don't want to assume that people have nothing but time, and so click, watch, it's over, and there you have it.
1:16 is good. Because my attention span is around 1:20, 1:25, so I'd have extra time when I was done with yours.
Well, then you could pick your nose.
Well, not the way I was going to go, Mom, in case she's watching. But just now I'm in trouble on all kinds of fronts. How about if we, segue into the politics here
Yes,
just a little bit,
that.
because I'm going to be in trouble in a moment.
Now, I'm curious, you suggested that Jerry Brown might be something that... who and what and how are we to expect?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. These are my opinions. These are my thoughts, and this is kind of a hope as to what might happen. I was speaking last night to a public policy class, college class. I love to speak to college classes, and last night I was speaking to a public policy class, and I found it exciting and disturbing in that when I was talking to the kids in the class, students, kids might be a misnomer, they were very excited about discussing the propositions and the impact of the propositions and whatnot. But most of them didn't vote.
No way.
And when I asked why they didn't vote, it came back because they don't think the vote matters at all. They don't think elections matter. They think you're pressing a toggle switch that's not connected to anything. And there's a disconnect between their passion for change and what they see as a non-mechanism for change. And we've grown up thinking elections were the vehicle for change, that if we didn't like who was there, if we didn't like the policies, that's what we did.
Vote the bums out, but as just a side...
And vote the new bums in.
A side bar, I would like to compliment Ventura County, because as of this week, 59% registered to voted. So that's, I mean, it's not, but it's at least the majority.
Well, it is the majority. It's well below the national average. And actually,
national?
Yeah, and we can actually have a chat about that if you'd like, because I was at a conference today going through some of those. So if you'd like to do another segment on that, I was at a conference that went through, and I know it's not what we talked about talking about, but nonetheless, since we are rewriting the rules of television, perhaps we can do
yes.
that.
Okay.
But that being the case, so what we have to do is we have to find a way, I believe, to engage young people in the process. And oddly enough, that may not be through the traditional format of a regularly scheduled election. And so when we're going to need to bump this, I think, to the next segment, but I would love to talk about the opportunity that I think Governor Brown has and the path I think he's going to take to get to this opportunity where we could see the most dramatic change we've seen in the state of California since probably 1978 or 1911 before that. Which 1978 was Prop 13 and 1911 was, for those who do study that, was Hiram Johnson. That's when propositions and recalls and whatnot were first enacted. Hiram Johnson did that in 1911. And I think there's an opportunity now for Governor Brown to do this, and I'm going to share with you the path I think he'll take to do it and why I think he wants to do it.
Perfect.
And we'll go forward from there.
Okay. And of course, as always, we have too much to talk about and not enough time, even though we could rewrite the rules. Maria Sanchez with our political correspondent, Scott Harris. We're taking a quick break, and we'll be right back, so don't you go anywhere.
The Maria Sanchez Show is about the county, by the county, and for the county. Whether we are simulcasting live from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, checking in with the leaders of our communities, hearing from our elected officials, helping to promote public safety, preparedness, and wellness. We are here for the needs of Ventura County. The Maria Sanchez Show is also about entertainment and events, sharing information, creating awareness, and supporting those in need. Won't you join us as we rewrite the rules of local television on the Maria Sanchez Show at www.kadytv.com.
Welcome back to the Maria Sanchez Show right here on kadytv.com. Reminder that we are going to be at Ivy Long Memorial Park tomorrow, Veterans Day, at 10:30 to broadcast there. We had Terry Taylor Gonzalez in yesterday in studio, so if you'd like to see what's going to be happening, click on that to learn more. But it's going to be a full-on ceremony, and then an opportunity for you to come and visit with us and give a shout out to Deployed One. And I found my POW wrist badge, that, or whatever you called that.
The wrist bracelets.
Yeah, I was looking through drawers just now, and I said to Terry, she has one, and I found mine, so I have it out so I can wear it tomorrow.
That's been in the news in the last week or two.
How come?
There was a woman who found hers, going through an old jewelry box or whatnot, and then through the internet tracked down the gentleman to see if he had survived, found that he had, and found that he has a network of 7 people who were wearing his bracelet during that time, and he did survive, and he's in contact with all 7 of those people now on a regular basis. Yeah, I want to say it was in the LA Times, but I don't know that to be true.
Okay.
But it was fascinating, and she found him very quickly on the internet. You know, just do a quick Google search, and XYZ POW, and there you go, and it's amazing.
Wow. Scott Harris is our guest. He's our political correspondent, and without further ado, we'll speak about
because we have no ado.
Governor
Brown, soon to be Governor Brown. And this is absolutely a theory, and it's my theory, and which means, by the way, that if it comes true, I'm an absolute genius, and if not, no one ever goes back and looks at this archive anyway, so I'm covered. But here's what I think is happening here. I think Governor Brown, Governor-elect Brown, but I think that Jerry Brown ran for governor to build a legacy. He was a so-so governor the first time around. He was a kid. He acknowledges that. He didn't do a lot of great things. He didn't do a lot of terrible things. He was just there. And if he had gone away, he would just be one of those guys you'd never think about, like President Polk. You know, nobody writes their master's thesis on President Polk. And that would be Jerry Brown. But now he's on the other side. So he was our youngest governor ever when he was governor. Now he's our oldest governor ever, so he's the bookend. I believe this is his legacy term. I think this is where he wants to make a major difference. He doesn't want to come in and do a Band-Aid thing and get a couple of things done. Why do that? Why put yourself through that just for that, to get involved in all that? So I think there's a chance that he wants to make a major difference. So here's a path I see for him doing that. Is we can't raise taxes in this state now, theoretically, without a 2/3 vote of the people. We have to raise taxes at some point. I realize that Republicans hate the idea, but we owe a lot more money than we have. We're selling things off like a garage sale. We're selling off parks and libraries and buildings, and we've gotten all the money out from under the couch. We maxed out the credit cards. We're done with the games. We have to get serious. So here's what could happen, is we're going to get a budget coming through next year. Now, it's going to be interesting because the Democrats can pass that budget with no help from Republicans.
Right.
So they're going
and why is that?
And that's because of the proposition that passed it, changed it from a 2/3 requirement to 50%. Democrats have more than 50%. So they're going to be able to pass whatever budget they want. I don't believe the Democrats in Sacramento are going to have the courage to make the cuts they need to make, because to do that, they're going to have to cut union pay. Because there's not enough money anywhere else in the budget to get where we need to go unless you start cutting teachers and prison unions. And I don't think they're going to be willing to do that. I just don't. Cynically, I don't think they'll do it for political reasons. On an altruistic level, I think that they're going to say we can't have less guards, we can't have less teachers. Whichever way you go, they're not going to cut it. Jerry Brown then is going to suggest to the people of California we have to have a tax increase, let's run a proposition, which we're going to vote down. Because even though we're bluer than we are red, we don't want to spend any more money on taxes. We're going to be at a bit of an impasse. And I think that's where Jerry Brown has a chance to make a difference. I think there's a possibility he's going to call a constitutional convention. And that we're going to blow up the Constitution of the state of California, which right now is the 3rd largest constitution in the world.
And how will blowing it up make a difference in terms of making our needs be met?
Right now, we are so hamstrung by the things that we've put onto Sacramento. We've done so much ballot box stuff in the last 10 or 15 years that there's almost no discretionary money left. There's very few decisions that the people in Sacramento get to make. The redistricting thing has been a problem, the lack of open primaries, the million different commissions and whatnot that we have, the rules and regulations. It's just not possible to efficiently run the state the way that we're structured. And we're not able to change it incrementally because we have to fight so hard for every tiny little change. And even when we do, for example, when this last budget came through, we may have talked about this last week, we were going to make some cuts to the money that goes to help single moms, of which I believe there's 60,000 families right now that are being helped. And it was a painful cut, and it's going to negatively impact a lot of people. And one judge came through and said, nope, sorry, we're not going to do that. We're not going to allow it. The governor furloughed people up to 2 or 3 days a week, state employees. And one judge came in and said, we can't allow that either. So now not only do we have to go back and pay them, we have to pay these people for days they didn't work. So there's not really a method or a system anymore to make the changes that we need to make in order to move forward as a state, which I believe is the opportunity then to come through and create a new constitution that's short, powerful, on target, and gives the state a chance to rebuild.
But how?
Well, you can actually call for a constitutional convention. I mean, there is a system for doing that.
But
and we can then vote on that as people.
Vote on what? And we can't print any more money. We don't want to be taxed anymore, and we don't want to.
Well, we can't print any money because we're not the federal government,
right,
and we can't seem to beg any more money from the federal government. So what has to happen is, if you're looking, for example, at pensions, we have about $500 billion in unfunded pensions in this state. That's the big issue that we're facing. That's the massive issue. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to convince public employees that the difference that we're battling about is not whether you're going to get $5,000 a month or $6,000 a month. It's whether you're going to get $3,000 a month or zero. We cannot afford to pay everything we've promised to pay. And that's a bad thing. If you've worked all your life for the government, you took a job, you've done an honest day's work or an honest set of decades of work, and we promised we would pay you $4,267 a month for the rest of your life, and now we're coming to you and saying, I'm sorry, Marie, we're not going to do that. I know you planned for it, I know you budgeted for it, I know you worked your whole life, and I know I promised it to you. I'm not going to give it to you. Mm-hmm. But I don't really have a choice because I don't have that $4,000 a month. What I can do is I can get you $3,000 a month.
Or can we do like they did in France just now, instead of making the
raise
retirement
age
60 to 62?
And you got to figure, if France has done it, France has done it.
Yeah.
France has taken a step away from socialism. It's remarkable. But you remember, in my view, that cost President Bush his second term. He won the second election, and he came out, one of the first things he said is, I now have political capital, and I'm going to spend it, and I'm going to reform Social Security. He tried to privatize Social Security. And he wanted to do a combination of privatization and raise the retirement age, and he got destroyed. He just got mauled. And in my view, that's when he quit. He went home to Crawford for the last 3 years and said, this isn't worth it to me. I got cattle, I got a baseball team, I got things going on. I don't have to be bothered with this. But he did want to make those changes. And part of what has to happen is we have to get close enough to the bottom that people that are used to these things, that count on them, that consider them entitlements and rights and privileges, they have to understand we can't keep doing it anymore. We have to make these significant changes. So one of the ways to do that, you're rewriting the rules of local broadcasting. We have to rewrite the rules of how to run a state. And that's where I believe Jerry Brown is going to take the state. Because if he can do it, if he can go back and modify the Constitution and shorten it, make it more effective, get some compromises as he does that through the unions and whatnot, where we take care of some of this outstanding debt that we have, that's $500 billion in unfunded pensions. If he can do that, then he will go down as a great governor. Mm-hmm. He will go down as the man who saved the state of California. Mm-hmm. If we're 4 years from now where we are today, which is where we were 4 years ago under Schwarzenegger and 8 years ago under Gray Davis, if we're just adding more debt, and we're worse off now than we were when we kicked Gray Davis out of office. We didn't benefit by having Governor Schwarzenegger.
But a lot of that has to do with the economy.
A lot of it has to do. My point is that right now, the way the system's structured, I don't think there's a governor we could have elected that could incrementally fix the state. I just don't think that's a possibility, which is why I believe in the end, Governor Brown is going to make a huge difference.
And I see what you're saying, because we're under adverse or worse circumstances because of factors that we didn't control that had nothing to do with politics.
Yes.
And regardless, we still are in a system that we can't afford.
Yeah,
So something has to change, and it's not red or blue.
It's not red or blue. I wasn't the world's greatest Schwarzenegger fan or Gray Davis fan, but I think they both made an honest effort to try to get the balance somewhere close to the budget, somewhere close to balance. I just don't think it can be done right now. Mm-hmm. I just think that it's a bigger job than one man can do. Because to your point, to the question you've asked me a couple of times in this segment, what are they going to do? Where are they going to find the money? Right. If the state's not willing to raise taxes and the unions aren't willing to cut salaries, we're out of money. We can't. We're selling off everything we can sell. We've borrowed everything we can borrow. Our credit rating is as low as it's going to be. What are we going to do?
Well, it reminds me a little bit of my situation at home. I'm a single mom, and I've been the sole support for my children for a long, long, long time, and I've done it at the risk of my future. Mm-hmm. And I just put my baby in college in August. I said to her, I pay this year. I don't know that I can continue to. I have to start worrying about me now, too. Bit. And I can see the state saying that too. It's like, it's almost like tough love, if you will.
Yes.
It's this is the bottom line. Sorry, we had the best of intentions. We didn't lie. We didn't try to pull one on over you.
Yep.
But this is the reality of the situation. And
absolutely.
So that's what.
Absolutely. We have to start taking responsibility as individuals, as corporations, and as a state. We'll see if it's going to happen.
I like that, though. I have to say. So Scott Harris, our political correspondent, and as he admitted, those are his opinions, and he's entitled to them, because prior to the election, I tried to keep us on a unbiased, objective, nonpartisan place. But now when we're talking opinions, I have no problem with that, because...
Oh, I've got others then.
Well, we know that. You can agree or not, but that whatever. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to do marketing segment with Scott Harris. And then we have Neil Andrews in studio visiting us. You're watching the Maria Sanchez Show right here on KADYTV.com.